Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be with you, and thanks for being here. I'm honored to be here with all of you today, and appreciate the comments that have been made already. Natalie was talking about bulk baloney. I had a flash of Congress in Washington, D.C. when she said bulk baloney. I want to thank those who have made this possible. This is an interesting forum here for us to get together and talk about education, and appreciate Prosperity 2020 and Education First for their efforts in putting this together and for you being a part of this effort. I've enjoyed the presentations so far, and I know we have more to come. I've changed my life's goal here today. I've changed. I want to have in my future, I'm going to be the campaign manager for young John Hoagland as he runs for president. I think it shows and illustrates the great potential we have with our young people, and we need to make sure we give them every opportunity to be the best they can be, and certainly that starts with education. Certainly in the state of Utah, we have high hopes. We have high expectations. We expect excellence in what we do here in the state of Utah, and we're accustomed to having success. We work hard for it. It's part of our culture. Pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, self-initiative, self-determination is part of our pioneer heritage here in the state of Utah. So I appreciate the fact that we're here to talk about education excellence and what we can do to raise the bar. I think I should just make a comment, if I could, just briefly on what came out yesterday on the SAGE test results and the news that came out yesterday. These new tests, as you all here know, are designed for us to give a more accurate assessment of where our students are. It's a competitive world out there. It's a global economy. We've heard Natalie talk a little bit about that already. And it's essential that we get our students ready to compete. And not only to compete, but to win in the global marketplace. I think it is unfortunate in some of the comparisons of the old test system, the CRT, compared to this new test system that we have here, the SAGE testing. It's like comparing apples and oranges. Clearly what we're trying to do is raise the bar and understand where our students are so we can have a baseline to move forward and improve the outcomes with our education. It is not unusual, in fact, for us, to see a drop when we raise the bar on what we think the performance should be, and then we test to see the drop in scores. We saw this a few years ago in 2009 when we raised the rigor when it came to math, and immediately the test scores dropped. But because of the good work of teachers and our school boards and those involved in education, we saw those test scores improve and a steady climb. I expect that same thing will happen with this new curriculum we have in place here in the state of Utah, and we'll see better outcomes with our test scores. Let me just say that the test scores do point out, though, that we have some work ahead of us to get us to where we want to be. And I'm confident that we have the abilities with our education establishment, those involved in education, with our parents, our students, our teachers, to meet that challenge. I trust what we have in our education. I trust our local school boards to make the right decisions. I trust our state school board to make the right decisions. I trust our legislature to make the right decisions. And I think that our future is bright because of the good people we have in place to run our education system. It's worth noting, and I see Lane Beatty was here a minute ago, but he knows this, that the U.S. Chamber of Commerce has indicated that Utah is the best value for education in America. We get the best return for the dollars that we spend. I'm not surprised at that. Thanks to good parents, to good, great teachers, good principals, our PTA, our superintendents, our local school boards, all those people of Utah who are involved in the educational experience, we're getting a great return on our investment. And I appreciate that effort. I would think, as kind of has been indicated a little bit with Natalie, we ought to put to bed the myth that somehow we got to just quit throwing money at education here in the state of Utah. We're 50 out of 50. We're certainly not just throwing money at education. And we're getting a good return on what we have, but we can do better. For all the successes we have had and are having in Utah, we're not where we want to be. And we're not where we need to be when it comes to the global marketplace. I believe we're on the right track, and the competition is strong. We need to run just to keep up, but just keeping up is not the goal. We cannot have, I've said before, long-term economic success in this state if we don't have the skills in the labor force to compete in the global marketplace. And that labor force is in our classrooms today. So that's where the emphasis has got to be if we're going to have the labor force tomorrow that we need to have for economic success. I would also say, in addition, that what was acceptable a decade or a generation ago is not acceptable today and probably is going to be outdated tomorrow. We do need to experiment. We need to expand our horizon. We need to think outside the box and find better ways to doing things. There's a lot of talk among policymakers that we ought to reform education. I'd like to change the talk about reform and say we ought to be talking about transforming education. Let's build upon the past successes we've had. Let's find ways to complement what we have found that's worked good for us in the past, and add to that new opportunities, new innovation, and new ways of thinking. As the late Dr. Chase Peterson said, the former president of the University of Utah, describing his vision for education, he said it this way: preserving the good and promoting the better. Preserving the good and promoting the better. We've got a good foundation here of education excellence in the state of Utah, but we can do better. We've put together a goal of 66 by 2020. Which clearly outlines the metrics and the benchmarks. It gives us a pathway forward. It should unite us in our efforts to, in fact, have education excellence in the state of Utah. And I think that we need to develop strategies that will help us move forward. And so today, I'm inviting our elected officials, our appointed officials involved with education, our leaders in education, to work with me and let me work with you in putting together, for the very first time in our state's history, a comprehensive, strategic, 10-year education plan for the state of Utah, which will allow us to raise the bar for education excellence in this state. We've turned the economy around. That's good news. We need to think long-term and strategic so that we're not reinventing the wheel every year with the legislature. We've got to think longer term. We'll take input from parents and students, from our elected school board members, from the business community, from leaders throughout this next year as we put together a stratagem as far as what we need to be, what we want to accomplish over the next decade when it comes to education. I'd like to suggest, too, along with what's been mentioned already, that we need to have an ambitious goal to become one of the top 10 states in the nation when it comes to public education and public education outcomes. It's been mentioned, we're already doing well in many areas. This is not really going to be a hard thing for us to do, I believe, if we'll unite our efforts. In ACT test scores, we're number one in the nation for those states that require everybody to take the exam. We're doing well in science, as Steve has mentioned to us, when it comes to our 8th grade test scores that put us both not only in the top 10 nationally, but also internationally. So there's some subjects we're doing very well, but we have work to do in other areas. The one that's causing me the greatest amount of concern is that Utah's ranked 25th when it comes to high school graduation rates. We're now graduating about 81% of our students, which is an increase of 9% over the last 2 to 3 years. But thinking of 1 in 5 of our students not graduating from high school is not an acceptable statistic. We can do better, and we can do better, and we will do better. We need to do everything we can to move ourselves from the middle of the pack when it comes to high school graduation rates to the top 10 in the nation when it comes to this. Something we can do, and it's something that we will do. The efforts that we're going to do, though, must involve all of us. And if we're going to succeed, it's going to take all hands on deck. All of us need to come together. As a famous Utahn and a good friend of mine and yours that we've heard speak before, the late Stephen R. Covey, said, "Seek first to understand and then to be understood." Everyone must be willing to respect that there may be different approaches and different ideas out there when it comes to education excellence in the state of Utah and how to achieve it. But we must work together and unite behind this effort so that we can succeed. Everyone has a role to play. My role is not the same as yours, and it may not be as important as yours, but it's going to be all of us working together that's going to cause this success to happen in Utah. Whether it's our state school board, whether it's our teachers, our legislators, our business community, our parents, the local school boards, all of us need to come together in a united effort. All those who are on the front lines, all those who care about the business climate of Utah, those who care about education excellence have got to come together if we're going to raise the bar on educational achievement in the state of Utah. And while I'm here, let me just mention, just briefly, a few words about our teachers. We can't thank our teachers enough for the work that they do. In challenging circumstances, in many cases, with larger classroom sizes and probably not as much resources and money as we'd like to have here in the state of Utah, I recognize that teaching is a great profession, rewarding, but it's difficult, it's hard. And other than the parents who set the stage for education learning in their homes, nobody has a greater impact on the outcomes of our students than teachers. Teachers motivate our students, they inspire them, and they shape the future by what they do in the classroom. So they deserve our gratitude. We need to grab a teacher and give them a hug and thank them for what they do. Their input is going to be critical as we work together in this transformation effort. Let me just say, too, that in this process, let's avoid what I call the one-size-fits-all mentality. What works in schools down in Bluffdale may not work in schools in Bountiful. And what works in Provo may not work in Parowan. Each community has its own unique demographics, its own unique challenges, and it's going to require some unique solutions in these respective areas of our state. Our role together, collectively, is to provide an environment that's conducive to, in fact, innovation, that people can feel good about trying different ideas and doing different things and finding successes in that trial and error period that sometimes happens in life. May I suggest that we apply some of the same principles that's helped us turn around the economy in the state of Utah to be the envy of this country. May I also suggest we apply some of the principles that's allowed us to make Utah recognized as one of the best managed states in America, and certainly has been effective in utilization of the taxpayers' dollars. Let us strive, number one, to not just create mandates and regulations, no matter how well-intended they may be, that may inhibit the flexibility of our local school boards, our local principals and teachers. Let's do everything we can to ensure that we have, in fact, local control in our schools so that innovation and creativity can abound, thus allowing our local education leaders the ability to respond to the unique needs of their students. And that challenge for us, too, is because we all are strong in our opinions. We all know that my way really is the right way. But we've got to allow for the differences of opinion and the dialogue and the discussion that comes with having differences of opinions and see what we can do to unite in this effort. And as we work together and find greater efficiencies in the system, and I would say as we in fact provide our teachers with professional training and skills necessary to help them be the best they can be in the classroom, we'll be able to reach the full potential we have here in the state of Utah for education excellence. Let me just kind of conclude where I began. Let me thank Prosperity 2020 and Education First for organizing this event, for all those who've gone together to put this unique forum together and give us an opportunity to learn together today on something that's very important. Thanks to all of you for being participants. There are people that ought to be here that are not. You're going to have to be somewhat the emissaries to those outside of this room to have this opportunity to have continued discussion when it comes to this education excellence. I look forward to hearing other presenters, and I really look forward to hearing Prosperity 2020 and their outline for their plan going ahead. I think is going to help give us a jump start on this idea of having a 10-year plan for education excellence in the state of Utah. Our goal of 66 by 2020 is something we need to keep foremost in our mind. Having post-high school education is going to be significantly important for us to maintain long-term sustained economic growth in this state. Now, I know that some are going to say, hey, we're doing enough. We've done enough. We're doing enough today, and we don't need to really do any more. Heavens knows we can't do any more than what we're doing today. I'm reminded of the story told by Debbie Fields of Mrs. Fields' cookies fame, when she visited one of her first stores and saw a line of customers out there waiting to get cookies. And concerned about what was going on, the cookies had been cooked a little bit overdone, and she talked to her manager about what he thought about these cookies and the people that are waiting to buy them. And this individual said to Debbie Fields, "Oh, they're good enough." Well, that led to her throwing the cookies out, made her upset that the cookies were not cooked to her standards. And her response and her business philosophy was, good enough never is. Our education system is not good enough. Again, I think our work to improve education will never be finished. There's always room for improvement. There's always ways to do things better and find more efficiencies in the system and find better ways to educate our children. But I'm convinced, and I believe this to my soul, that we cannot achieve this success unless we, in fact, are willing to work together to improve our education in the state of Utah, find ways to work together and cooperate, and give our students what they need to succeed. And if we can come together, if we can, in fact, unite on this 10-year plan that will keep us focused on the goal of education excellence in this state, for the next 10 years, I think what we can achieve will astound even us here today. It's in the working together and the collaboration and cooperation will help us achieve education excellence in our state. So again, I appreciate what you're doing here. I appreciate the fact that we are a great state with great people. If we work together, we can maintain our lofty position as the best place in America to live, to raise a family, and to do business. Thank you very much.